The sun hung low over the Montana grasslands, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. When Sarah first saw the ranch, through the dusty windshield of her rental car, she had driven for hours, leaving behind a life that no longer fit, and searching for something she could not name. The wooden sign at the entrance read, Whisper Creek Ranch, and beneath it in smaller letters, Horses Boarded, Trail Rides, Working Ranch. Sarah pulled her car to the side of the dirt road and just sat there for a moment watching the horses grazing in the distance. At 53, she had finally walked away from a marriage that had been empty for years, and now here she was in the middle of nowhere, with no real plan except to spend the summer volunteering at a ranch she had found through an online listing. The main house came into view as she drove slowly up the path, and she could see a man working near the barn, his movements efficient and practiced. He looked up as she parked, and she noticed the gray in his beard and the lines around his eyes that spoke of years spent outdoors. "You must be Sarah," he called out, walking toward her with an easy stride. "I'm James Morrison, but everyone calls me Mac." His handshake was firm and his smile genuine, in a way that made her feel instantly welcome. "Thank you for having me," she said, suddenly feeling self-conscious about this whole adventure. "I know it's unusual to take on a volunteer who knows nothing about ranching." Mac laughed a warm sound. That seemed to come from deep in his chest. "Some of the best ranch hands I've known started out knowing nothing," he said. "What matters is whether you're willing to learn and whether you're running towards something or away from something." Sarah considered this, maybe both. She admitted. "Fair enough," Mac said, nodding. "Let me show you where you'll be staying." The cottage was small but perfect, with windows that looked out over the pastures and a porch swing that creaked gently in the breeze. "Supper's at 6 if you want to join me at the main house," Mac said. "No pressure, though. I imagine you might want some time to settle in." Sarah did settle in, but by 6 she found herself walking to the main house, drawn by the smell of something delicious cooking, and perhaps by the prospect of company. Mac was stirring a pot on the stove, and the kitchen was warm and inviting in a way her own kitchen back home had never been. "I hope you like beef stew," he said. "It's pretty much my signature dish, which is a polite way of saying it's one of the few things I know how to make." They ate at a worn wooden table that had clearly seen decades of meals, and Mac told her about the ranch. He had inherited it from his parents 15 years ago, and had been running it mostly solo since his wife passed away 7 years back. "I'm sorry," Sarah said softly. Mac nodded, accepting her sympathy. She was a good woman. He said, tough as nails when it came to ranch work, but soft as butter when it came to anything with 4 legs or anyone who needed help. "She sounds wonderful." "She was," Mac said, and then smiled. "But life goes on, and I learned that keeping busy helps. This place demands attention, and that's been a blessing." Sarah understood that, better than she could express. The days fell into a rhythm that surprised Sarah with its comfort. She woke early, helping Mac feed the horses and muck out stalls. Her muscles ached in new ways, but it was honest work, and she found satisfaction in the tangible results. Mac was patient, teaching her how to read a horse's mood and how to approach with confidence tempered by respect. "Horses know when you're uncertain," he explained one morning as Sarah hesitated near a particularly large gelding. "But they also respond to gentleness. You don't have to choose between strength and kindness." By the 3rd week, Sarah could saddle a horse without help, and had even started leading some of the gentler trail rides for guests. She loved those rides, the quiet conversations with visitors who came to the ranch seeking the same peace she had found. One afternoon, a family arrived with a teenage daughter who was clearly going through something difficult. The girl was sullen and resistant, refusing to engage with anyone. "I don't want to ride some stupid horse," she muttered, when her parents suggested a trail ride. Sarah caught Mac's eye and saw understanding there. "Tell you what," Mac said to the parents, "why don't you folks go ahead on the ride and I'll introduce your daughter to Misty. She's our oldest mare and she doesn't get ridden much anymore, but she could use some gentle grooming." The girl looked skeptical, but something in Mac's tone made her nod reluctantly. Sarah watched from a distance as Mac led the girl to Misty's stall and showed her how to brush the mare's coat. He talked quietly, explaining how Misty had been rescued from a bad situation years ago, and how she had learned to trust again. The girl's shoulders gradually softened, and by the time her parents returned an hour later, she was smiling and telling them all about Misty's favorite treats. "You're good with people," Sarah said to Mac that evening as they sat on his porch watching the sunset. "I'm good with listening," he corrected. "Most people just need someone to hear them without judgment." Sarah felt something shift in her chest. "I think I needed that too," she said quietly. "I spent so many years being told I wasn't enough, not exciting enough or ambitious enough or whatever enough, that I started believing it." Mac was quiet for a moment. "My wife used to say that the people who make you feel small are usually the ones who are afraid of your bigness," he said. "She was a lot smarter than me." "I think you're pretty smart," Sarah said. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned purple. Then indigo. A month passed, and then another. Sarah had stopped thinking of this as temporary and started thinking of it as home. She had grown, strong from the work, her body lean and capable in ways it had not been in years. But more than that, she felt present in her own life in a way she could not remember feeling before. One morning in late July, she was working in the far pasture checking fence posts when she stepped wrong and felt her ankle twist sharply. Pain shot up her leg and she went down hard, crying out in surprise more than anything. Mac was there within minutes, having heard her cry from where he was working nearby. "Don't move," he said, kneeling beside her. "Let me see." His hands were gentle as he examined her ankle, and Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes from the pain and from something else she could not name. "I think it's sprained," Mac said. "We need to get you back to the house and get some ice on it." "I can walk," Sarah said, starting to stand, but the moment she put weight on her foot, she gasped and would have fallen if Mac had not caught her. "I want," she started to say, feeling foolish and vulnerable. "I want to not need help right now." But even as she said it, she knew it was not true. "I want someone to take care of me," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Is that weak? I spent so long being strong and independent, and now I just want—" She could not finish the sentence. Mac looked at her with such understanding that fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "It's not weak," he said firmly. "Come here." He bent and lifted her easily into his arms, and Sarah let herself lean against his chest, feeling the solid warmth of him. As he carried her back toward the house, she found herself noticing things she had tried not to notice before. The strength in his arms and the steady beat of his heart beneath her ear. The way he smelled like hay and leather, and something indefinably him. "Mac," she whispered. "Yeah. Thank you for letting me come here. Thank you for being here," he said, and there was something in his voice that made her look up at him. Their eyes met and held, and Sarah saw reflected there the same careful hope she felt. He carried her into his house instead of her cottage and settled her gently on his couch. "I'll get ice," he said. But before he moved away, Sarah caught his hand. "Stay," she said, "just for a moment." Mac sat beside her, still holding her hand. "I didn't expect this," Sarah said, gesturing vaguely between them. "I came here to figure out who I was without my marriage, without all the expectations, and instead I found—" "Found what?" Mac prompted gently. "Connection," Sarah said. "Real honest connection. Not just with you, but with myself, with this place, with a way of living that feels true." "I know what you mean," Mac said. "After Ellen died, I thought I was done with all that. I had my one great love, and that was supposed to be enough for a lifetime. But," Sarah said, sensing there was more, "but these last few months with you here," Mac continued, "I've remembered that there are different kinds of love, and that opening your heart again doesn't diminish what came before." Sarah felt something bloom in her chest, warm and bright. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared of wanting this and having it not work out. I'm scared of being vulnerable again." "Me too," Mac said with characteristic honesty. "But I'm also learning that being scared and being willing can exist at the same time." He got up then and brought ice for her ankle, wrapping it carefully and propping her foot on pillows. Then he made them both coffee and sat with her as the morning light filled the room. They talked about everything and nothing. Sarah told him about her daughters who were grown now and living their own lives, and who had been surprisingly supportive when she told them about the divorce. Mac talked about his son, who worked on an oil rig in Alaska and who called every Sunday without fail. He worries about me being alone out here, Mac said, but I keep telling him I'm not alone. I've got the horses and now I've got you. The words hung in the air, simple but weighted with meaning. For as long as I want to stay, Sarah said, making it both a statement and a question. For as long as you want to stay, Mac confirmed. And Sarah, I hope that's a good long while. Over the next few days, as Sarah